I've had the advantage of listening to the submissions that have been made before my invitation, and I associate myself with what has been said. I've just sent to the chair an image of The Advocate, which was a magazine of the Law Society of Kenya, which was published on the 2nd day of November 1992. I was the editor of that particular edition. And it was just before the first multi-party elections. And the same things that we said then are the very same things that remain relevant today. We come here to interrogate what democracy is. I will not give you a typical keynote address. I'll simply identify a number of issues on the basis of which you can then continue with your long day or with your day-long debate. Last night, I was watching the results of the elections that had been called in Canada, snap elections. Canada has 38 million registered voters. Kenya in the year 2022 had slightly under 23 million voters. As the votes were being counted, the winning candidate called the election in his favor. And 1 hour later, the losing candidate gave a speech conceding defeat. Not so long ago, another snap election was called in Germany. Germany has 58 million plus registered voters. Within 1 hour of the closing of the voting, the winning candidate had called the elections and the losing candidate had conceded. In our country, you would still be at Bomas of Kenya, deciding whether 1 + 1 is 2 or 3. We would have printed ballot papers whose cost is more expensive than our currency, and they would have been printed in Greece. We can't count. We have individuals who think that people representation is life and death, and they actually cause death, and we cheer them. We cheer them because they come from our tribes. We cheer them because they have bribed us. We may be in boardrooms before the elections and speak very soberly, but on the day of the election, we are Luo, we are Kikuyu, we are Kamba, we are Kalenjin, we are Bukus. Until we liberate ourselves from that sad reality, we'll never earn the dividends of good governance. Today, I'm reluctant to use the word democracy. Because what is it? John Hendricks Clark, that great American, said that when African countries regained their independence, not a single one of them adopted a government system that is based on African traditions. We all adopted systems that were inherited from our erstwhile colonizers, and Clark says none of us will ever succeed on the basis of those systems. And I can't agree more. Look at Africa today. As I speak, Sudan. Look at Sudan. Look at Somalia. Look at Democratic Republic of Congo. Look at the entire Sahel. In Guinea, Doumbouya had to mount a coup d'etat. In Niger, they had to mount a coup d'etat. In Mali, Atimi Goita had to mount a coup d'etat. In Burkina, Ibrahim Traore had to mount a coup d'etat. In Gabon, Nguema had to mount a coup d'etat. There may have been successful elections in Botswana and in Namibia, but those are few and far between. We must interrogate this thing we call democracy. In Kenya, the people you call leaders, don't listen to them when they are in podiums in Nairobi, no. Listen to them when they are speaking in their mother tongue at funerals, when they are their true selves. They are Bukusus or Maragoli speaking Mulembe nation, or they are Kambas, or they are Kikuyus, or they are Luos. Their political parties don't matter. That is why there is not a single presidential candidate that has contested an election after 5 years in the same political party. As I said before, the forests change, but the monkeys remain the same, with the same habits. And let me tell you, if you continue doing the same thing in the same way, thinking that will change, nothing will change. I now see individuals across the country congregating, and you call them opposition. These were individuals who were in the Moi government. They were in the Kibaki government. They were in the Uhuru government. What is new about them? Nothing except their insatiable greed for power and the privileges that power offers. So we are assembled here to ask critical and serious questions. I've been around. I was here in 1980s. I was here in 1990s when the entire movement of change the Constitution was alive and well. I was in the Council of the Law Society. I've been here and I've seen Kenyans repeatedly electing individuals in the name of democracy who in other parts of the world would be completely unelectable. We elect comedians. And as one wise man, is it Albert Einstein, who said, when you elect a comedian to take him or her to the palace becomes a circus. And that is why we have what we have today. What is the value of knowing that which is right without doing that which is right? I keep on hearing Kenyans saying, we have a beautiful constitution. What is the beauty of a constitution which you honor and breach? What is it? You know, in 1967, the late Tanzanian President Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere was asked, what is the secret of development? And he said in Kiswahili, siri ya maendeleo ni watu, ardhi na siasa safi. And he added, siri ya maendeleo ni vijana wenye malezi bora, siha njema na bongo kali. And then he said, ukimwona mtu anakimbia sana kwenda ikulu, mkwepe kama ukoma. Kwani kuna biashara gani ikulu? He posed rhetorically. Ikulu ni mahali patakatifu. Musilibadilishe kuwa pango la walanguzi. We Kenyans hold meeting after meeting in boardroom after boardroom, in workshop after workshop, but we are unmoved and untouched. The question is, when will we have our journey to Damascus, like Saul of Tarsus, that we may change? Are we ready for the change? Are we prepared to do that which is right and good because it is right and good? I was involved in the process of making the Constitution jointly with others for 5 years. We produced the Boma's draft. We made many recommendations, some of which were retained in the current Constitution. We said Nairobi should not be a county. You made it into a county. We said we should have no more than 18 counties, between 14 and 18. You created 47 of devolved units, each of which a governor thinks he or she is running a country. The United States of America has only 50 states with a GDP of 23 trillion United States dollars. Nigeria has only 37 states. India 37. China 30 provinces. South Africa 9 provinces. We have 47 counties with 47 governors, 47 deputy governors, 47 speakers, 47 deputy speakers. And you tell me that we are going to grow? When a county raises 400 million in a year and consumes 2 billion in a year, we can't grow. Even if there is divine intervention. We can pray and fast all we want, but nothing is going to change until we change. We have individuals in positions of leadership who do not care. They are unmoved and untouched. You accuse an individual of engaging in corruption. He has a mob around him, escorting him to the offices of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. And he comes out and gives a press conference. Corruption is the most profitable business in Kenya today. You have individuals whose salaries, even if they lived for 1,000 years and worked for 1,000 years, would not buy them half an acre of land. And they are multi-billionaires. They have never won any lottery, never made any discovery. And we celebrate them as successful men and women. And we elect them to boot. As Dr. Waindi said, I grew up partly in Maringo, partly in Jericho, partly in Eastleigh, partly in my rural home in Usenge, in Imbo, in Siaya County. When I was sick, you would go to the dispensary and you would find medication. Today, unless you are suicidal, you don't visit any of those outfits. When our leaders are delivering children, they go to the United States of America. And we are not angry. We are told that our police officers, and is in the public domain, collect 13.3 billion in bribes in a month, and we are not angry. Young Kenyans, the task is yours. Choose you now. whether you want to be Kambas and Luos and Luhias and Kikuyus, or you want to be Kenyans, with the tribe only being for cultural reasons. Samora Moises Machel said, if the new African nation is to thrive, the tribe must die. Not that you cease to identify yourself as such, but it cannot be the basis for decision making. That I'm voting for an individual because he's from my ethnic group, that is the only qualification. That they gave me 200 shillings, that is the justification. We must rethink governance. Today, we have a parliament whose only claim to fame is that they have insatiable appetite for our taxes. Our parliamentarians relative to our GDP are the best paid in the world. In the world. They want CDF, not because they want to serve us. Ask each one of them how many companies they have formed, where their drivers and brothers and sisters and house helps are the directors. Ask them. Ask them whether they